let me start by asking Dr. Abdullahi Janneh. The Russia-Ukraine war has provoked an energy crisis and has sparked a rush to fossil fuels, the very same ones that we are meant to start abandoning in order to reach climate goals. So can I ask you, how do you view this? How do you view, does it make you optimistic? Does it make you pessimistic? Dr. Abdullahi, are you with us?
You are not hearing me?
No. Yeah, we are now. Sorry, yes, we weren't before.
I don't know what's wrong with the internet when it's going on and off.
Yeah,
I'm also hearing you very faintly, but we'll manage. You know, the part of the world where we are is a challenge. We are not in Cairo.
Yes, so please go ahead. Yeah, maybe there's a technical problem there. So I can ask the same question to Ambassador Quaroni, which is, how do you view this rush to fossil fuels that has followed the Russia-Ukraine war?
Yes, sure. Thank you, first of all, for inviting me in this panel. Let me make two observations to answer your question. One is, yes, the war in Ukraine, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, has an enormous impact today, not only on the energy markets. Prices have risen to levels where they have never been, and this creates enormous problems for the energy market, of course. But generally speaking, this is also sending alarming messages to the economy, global. One, for example, in Europe, we're looking into a serious risk of a stagnation in our economy and recession even. Yes, the impact is very severe. It has, of course, created a rush back to certain fossil fuels that were in a phasing out mode. I'm talking about coal, for example. But the other side of the coin, which I want to emphasize, so on one side, yes, the impact is severe. The other point is that, and at least that's the view of my country and the EU, is that we are not deflecting and we will not deflect from our goals, our very ambitious goals to face the climate transition. And that is the message that we are going to bring in a very concrete way to the COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh in a couple of weeks.
But surely this transition will be delayed. I mean, all this new infrastructure for fossil fuels will be built, and then is it going to be abandoned within 8 or 10 years?
It's not, I don't see any further building of infrastructures right now. It's just that certain processes of phasing out have, of course, been delayed. What I see at the same time, since we are facing this enormous increase of the price of fossil fuel, what I am seeing is that this is even pushing more the countries to invest in alternative sources in order to accelerate this process. We don't know how long this energy crisis is going to last, but this, in my opinion, opens even bigger opportunities, since the price of the fossil fuels is so high. The price of the renewables, which was higher, is now, I wouldn't say the same level, but very close to it. And this especially has ring a very big alarm clock in many, many countries of, first of all, trying to get rid of this strong dependency on fossil fuels and of those countries where we're importing it from, but also to rush through the processes of going to alternative sources of energy, and especially investing in those.
Thank you very much. Let's talk about finance, and let me ask you, Ambassador Quaroni, it's not just an energy crisis, it's also an economic crisis. Some countries are facing recession. Are they going to be able to commit the many, many billions that are needed to catalyze finance in green transitions?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. I think you're absolutely right, and that is one of the key points of the discussion. But before answering specifically what you asked to me, let me make, also responding to previous intervention, the following point. As we see it, as Italy see it, as the EU, we see the COP27 having two objectives. One is not deflecting, as I said, from our ambition, because climate change is already happening under our eyes. We cannot deflect. We as European Union are going to stick to our very ambitious targets, despite the recession, despite the difficulty for certain countries to put the same amount on the table that before the crisis. But of course, the issue of climate finance is going to be high on the table, has already been in Glasgow, and will as much more to be on the table in Sharm el-Sheikh. Africa will be high on the agenda. I understand that fully. So yes, we have to talk about this. We have to embark on very serious discussion on this. We have to discuss the issue of finding a right balance between mitigation and adaptation. We need to find a concrete way of raising those famous 100 billion euros. But let's be not too pessimistic on this, because according to the data of 2020, we're already at 83 billion. So we are close to the amount. We will continue to work on that. It's essential especially for countries in Africa. They're severely hit by climate changes, and they have a difficulty in raising that money. It has to be a collaborative effort of states, but also of private. The private sector has to do its part, has to be called inside, and I think Sharm el-Sheikh has to be, that has to be one of the big points of really creating a catalyst of attracting private money here. The development banks, the national development banks, the international ones, need to play a big role in this, in a concerted effort in which we will not abandon, as I said, ambition, but we will help everybody to be part of this ambition, and to concentrate especially their investments and their economic efforts in things which are good for the climate transition. That's another important point. Let's not waste monies on or deviating money to things which are not focused on the climate change.
Right, thank you. Ambassador Quaroni, can I ask you, when we're at COP and when the real negotiations start, the ones that are behind closed doors, who do you expect to be heard? Will it be, will the talk be about adaptation, or will there be, will issues to do with mitigation, to do with the emissions of countries like China, like India, will these be the main focus?
First of all, I'm happy not to be there in the behind closed doors. I will be outside observing it. I guess, my guess is that, and my wish would be that all the problems will be put on the table and confronted with. Of course, the problem all the COPs had is with the major emitters, the major polluters, and bringing them to make their part, to become more ambitious, to be more ambitious in their NDCs. We as European Union, as I said, we have increased, as you know, our collective NDC. We have brought it to 55%. We expect that the big industrialized nations in the world follow us on this. because if we don't are not more ambitious and we don't give the examples, what should the people and the countries here in Africa which have lesser means, and they're mainly also passively getting the effects of the climate change and things. So that's one thing. That's an old story, unfortunately, of the LATCOPs, is bringing the big emitting countries to reduce that. The other issue, sure, which under the presidency of Egypt, which is very much focused, rightly so, on representing Africa, on the problems of Africa, the issue of putting parity in the amount of money which is allocated now more to mitigation instead of adaptation. That certainly is going to be a big theme. And as European Union, we are in favor of that, to continue that discussion. Also, the issue of finding correct mechanisms to allocate in a very efficient way the money for the other big problem is loss and damage.
Yes.
That's going to be very big on the agenda as well. So my hope, and I think it will be like that, is the many issues will be tackled at the same time. The problem will be for the presidency, the Egyptian presidency, to find the right synthesis and be able to close up with some commitments that make sense and that really are not giving the sense that we are backtracking because of the strong economic crisis. The message would be very detrimental. And unfortunately, time is running out. 2030 is around the corner and 2050 is running. Right.